So here we are, week number 2, talking about having a fully committed marriage. And we're following along again with the Bible app plan. And so this is kind of week 2. We're not going to go every week, but this is week 2.
That's right.
Right? And so the first thing we want to talk about in having a fully committed marriage is priority and putting things in priority and making sure that we understand that there are priorities that we have in our life. You know, like if we think about all of the things we have to do as far as like our marriage, our kids, God, our church, our job, our extracurricular events, well, you kind of have to put it's a lot, right? But you have to kind of put it in order and saying, okay, what is the most important thing?
Yeah.
Right? And making sure that in our relationship together, that first of all, God's there first.
Yeah.
The more I love God, the more I'm going to love people. The second thing is my wife. It's our marriage. It's our relationship that actually is the second thing. And that those other things that come after us doesn't mean they're bad things. It's just that this has to come first, because if this breaks down, you know, everything else kind of breaks down.
And that includes even our children. Like
Absolutely.
So many times we put our kids first, or our kids' needs and wants. And there are definitely times where that's seasonal, that can happen, you know, if a child's sick or whatever. But we have to make sure that we keep our relationship a priority, and other things can just suck right out your energy, right? That you just can't do it. So
we got to be, first of all, we need to keep each other, God and each other, the priority.
Yeah. The second thing is we need to be intentional, and we just need to make sure that we're actually trying to keep our relationship number one, after God, of course. And we talked a little bit about this last week, but it's important that we actually take a look and stock. What are we doing with our time? Who are we hanging out with, and how are we hanging out? And are we actually spending time with each other in a way that's more than just, this is what you have to do
or
today.
This.
Yes.
when we're both kind of looking at our phones.
Right.
That's not time spent together.
No, we actually have to spend time where we're communicating with each other. So take some time and go for a walk together, and leave your phones at home, or go out to have a coffee together, and make sure that you're actually communicating and talking to one another.
And that's the same thing with your relationship with God. You know, you've got to set time, put something, you know, some sort of reminder on your phone, or follow one of these Bible app plans, and just say, okay, I'm going to do this at this point every day, or at something like that. But that's just what it means to be intentional. You just don't wait to think about it. You just plan ahead.
Yeah, and I think too, it's not about the length of time either. Like sometimes people are like, oh, I have to go away with my spouse, and I have to do all this thing or spend all this money. It's not even about that.
Okay, honey, we're going to have a 10-hour talk.
Oh my goodness. But it's also about just making sure that you're spending some time together.
Absolutely.
The last thing is being accountable, and accountability in a marriage is so critical.
Yep.
And we have to make sure that we're surrounding ourselves with people who are actually supporting our marriage and spurring us on to do the right things within our marriage.
Right, so I mean, that's really important. That's why we need to go to church, right? We need to go to a Bible-believing church that is surrounded by other people who would have the same intentions on having, you know, good, strong biblical marriages, right?
For sure.
And actually who we spend our extra time with, right? Like if you're spending time with people who are in, you know, toxic relationships, then that's gonna rub off on you. And so you have to stay accountable by like surrounding yourself with a good atmosphere of being married.
And people who will actually tell you, you know what, you should stop, or this is what you should do, or maybe think more positively about your spouse. Have people in your life who are actually going to challenge you to honor and to walk in the way that Christ would want you to walk.
Yeah, like it's time to go home. You know, like it's time for you to go home and be with your wife. It's time for you to spend some time there and make that investment. So it's super important. Hebrews chapter 10, verse 24 says, let us consider how we can spur one another on toward love and good deeds. And so, you know, let's encourage one another. You know, let's do this well. Let's be fully committed to a biblical, godly marriage.
It's true. So this week we want to encourage you. Who are you spending time with? How are you spending your time together? And also make sure that you're being intentional with your time, as well as being with people who encourage you. And why not be an encouragement to somebody else as well? Well, that's it. Thanks so much for joining us today.
See ya.